most people are identified with as themselves. They are so much in the grip of their thoughts that they are their thoughts. And every thought that arises is the absolute truth because they're completely identified with it. If you can watch people on TV or wherever, most of them live in that state, except those who are awakening. And if you're awakening, there is a space behind the personality, so to speak. There's a personality, but it is no longer has the density to it that where everything is kind of, you're either angry or you are fearful or you immediately have a reaction, and everything is so important and every little thing can upset you. You're just waiting for the next upset. All you have is form identity. All you have is the personality, and it's fragile, and it's not enough, and it hasn't found fulfillment yet, and it's looking for all kinds of things. Please add something bit more to who I am because I'm not complete yet, and never arrive at that point of completion. So there's that. Life gets very frustrating if you live on that level alone, only on that level, trapped on the surface of reality. trapped with an absurdly limited sense of who you actually are, completely cut off from the depths of who you are. There was I believe it was Alan Watts, the spiritual teacher and writer, who said, you are something that the whole universe is doing in the same way that the wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that the wave is something the whole ocean is doing. Now, if the wave or the ripple on the surface of the ocean does not know that it is a ripple or a wave on the surface of the ocean, but considers itself to be an autonomous, separate entity, that would be a strange existence because it would feel threatened by every other wave and would compare itself to every other ripple and wave. So you live on just living on the surface of reality and not realizing that ultimately I am connected to a vastness. I am an extension of that vastness. I have come out of that vastness, and I can actually get a sense of being connected to that vastness. I can get a sense of that, and if I can get a sense, for example, between two thoughts, when the mind is still for a moment and you feel just a spacious stillness or presence, and suddenly you have deepened. And that is a liberation from being trapped on the surface level of reality, which is a terrible destiny. And people create all kinds of havoc because they are trapped in extremely limited identities. And so they have to fight others who are trapped in their own identities, both whether it's a personalized identity or collective identity, the egoic identity. And most of the evils of this world, what we perceive as the violence and the suffering, is created by little egos or big egos, well, little egos that think they are big, trying to get a stronger sense of who you are by strengthening their form identity, for example, by creating enemies and fighting them, because it strengthens the sense of who you are. So religions do it, political systems do it. In the West, the egoic identity tends to be more individualized, personalized. There's a personal sense of ego. In other parts of the world, people's sense of identity is more bound up with the collective identity of my religion or my segment of that religion, and you fight the others who have a different opinion about who died at what time, and we don't agree with them, they are our mortal enemies. So you cannot, if you're trapped on the surface level of reality, the surface level of yourself, then life becomes conflict-ridden. You cannot sense that which unites you with others, with other humans, and you cannot sense the aliveness in other life forms. You are cut off in a conceptualized reality in the head, a conceptualized reality. Other humans can be easily dehumanized by calling them this or that, attaching certain concepts to them, because you've already done it to yourself. You've already conceptualized yourself as, I am such and such, a believer in this, a believer in that. And then you have another who does not agree with you, and you put a label on him, and you can no longer sense any judgment ultimately that you impose on another human being traps you in a conceptual identity, that you impose a conceptual identity on the other. It's a terrible thing to do to another human being. The moment you do it, you can no longer sense their beingness. You can no longer sense that which unites you with the other. You can no longer sense the oneness with you and the other. Only if you've gone even only a little deeper than the personality level can you begin to have some empathy with another human being. Can you begin to have empathy with another life form, whether it's a tree or an animal? And you begin to be able to sense their inherent aliveness, ultimately their consciousness. Because every life form has some consciousness. There's a beautiful saying that points to the fact that actually the entire universe is an expression of the one consciousness, expressing itself, one could say, in different frequencies. So the consciousness is asleep in the stone, the mineral. The consciousness is dreaming in the plant. The consciousness is awakening in the animal. The consciousness is potentially awakening to itself in the human. And that is the manifestation of the one consciousness in different, so to speak, vibrational frequencies. And so most of you have read some books or heard about the subatomic realm. When you go very deep into that reality, you look at the smallest and smaller and smaller, or you go out into outer space and you look at the macrocosm, and there are huge mysteries there. There's the mystery of the outer space, there's a mystery of the microscopic, atomic and subatomic space, and reality suddenly doesn't seem to make sense anymore when you go deeper. Many things we don't understand, maybe we'll never conceptually understand, but there is a vast mystery in the realm of the small, there's a vast mystery in the realm of the gigantic out there. But the greatest mystery in those books that address those often is never even mentioned, because it's such a mystery, they don't know what to do with it. The greatest mystery of the universe is that the universe is conscious. The universe is conscious. How do I know that? How do you know that? You are the conscious universe. You are the awakening universe. The universe is awakening through you. You look like a human being, but the reality is you are an expression of the universe that is awakening in consciousness. It is growing in consciousness. That is the evolutionary process behind the universe. You can see how the planet evolved from dead planet to gradually there were life forms. Gradually something was expressing itself more and more fully. The multiplicity of life forms appearing, the disguises of consciousness. And gradually something that is transcendent to this universe, somehow looks almost paradoxical, is gradually expressing itself in this dimension. It dwells in the timeless. So what I'm really talking about when I say consciousness now, let's relate that. Where does that even come from? Mainstream science still believes that consciousness is a byproduct of the physical brain, and it tells you that it can't really explain what it is. It doesn't know what a thought is. No, don't let them tell you that they know what a thought is. They don't. But many scientists cannot even admit that they don't know. They have to find some kind of words to disguise the fact that they don't know. What is a thought? Can you find a thought by cutting open the brain? Can you find the memories? No, you can't. We don't know. We know almost nothing about that. Only the greatest scientists can admit that there's a vast amount they don't know. Einstein admitted it. Einstein admitted the mysterious nature of the universe. Most conventional scientists can't admit that fact.